It is time for another edition of NFL Betting Blitz Sunday, NFL Week 15. Eric, we only have 4 weeks left in the NFL season. We have lots of playoff implications. There's some really fun, important, big games today. Games like the Steelers at the Eagles, games like the Bills at the Lions, have an important game with the Colts at the Broncos, kind of battling there for a possible playoff spot for the Colts. You have Green Bay going to Seattle. So some very, very important playoff implication games around the NFL. No more buys. We already had a Thursday night game, 2 Monday night games this week. So we have a lot of ground to cover, Eric. Let's get right on into it, my friend. First thing on our menu today, we'll be looking at the lines. We're checking out Bet Online. So if you just want to follow along with us in the order of the games that we go, we'll also give you a couple plays that we have for Boom Fantasy. If you've never heard of Boom Fantasy, if you're looking for some action today, check it out right now, Boom Fantasy. And then at the end of the show, Eric and I will give you some of the props that we use. So if you want to build a lineup, maybe you can use one of his, one of mine, whoever you like, the particular plays that we have. Eric, we got the Washington Commanders coming off a bye. They're 7.5-point favorite on the road at the Saints. Is this Jake Haener starting for the Saints today?
Fresno State's greatest. Jake Haener's getting the nod. I'm not really that big on this defense, but it is a Quinn defense against a rookie getting his first start. Excuse me. We could.
That's what happens when you get out to a bar at night, usually, huh?
Really lean on the run. Commanders are 27th DVOA against the rush. PFF graded the 27th worst team. Could lean on Miller and Kamara heavy this game. Commanders, they also can be passed on, but again, hard to trust Haener in his first game on the road. Saints, worst team against the run per PFF and DVOA. So I do a fantasy football segment on my podcast. Brian Robinson is in every single one of my DFS lineups. Quinn, he's only 40% as a favorite. And this could be a good spot to fade the Commanders with the Eagles on deck, but I didn't do anything this game. I just used Robinson in my DFS lineups.
I don't really have a strong play in here, especially with the question marks of like the new quarterback starting. And we haven't really been impressed with what we've seen from Washington. They haven't been covering with margin. They've been in spots like this where they haven't been getting the job done. So this one's more of a stay away for me. No real strong opinion as well, Eric. Let's move to Dolphins at the Texans. So coming out of this game, you have a Texans team who hasn't really looked impressive all throughout the year. I think everyone's kind of wanted to anoint them as this next team. What they've done really well, though, they've been 11-2 ATS in the first half this year. That's the best in the league. So they're one of those teams that's really good in the first half, but not great at making the adjustments and hasn't been as good in the second half. Something to monitor. I didn't realize they were that good of a first half team this year.
Yeah, they're the best one. Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Is there something to that? Like, what do you take out of that for them? Like, do you think it's, something about the other?
They're just really good. Their offense, Slowick's just really good scheming in terms of
first 15 kind of things, like setting it up. Yeah.
He's just not doing that good of a job. So, I mean, that's basically it in a nutshell. Michigan State football has the same problem too. They're really good scheming where they can take advantage of matchups, but once teams make adjustments, then they really have a hard time trying to
readjusting. Yeah. So for the Dolphins, one area that I was just going to target in this game more than a particular side, the Dolphins, when they're defensively, so 24% of targets against the Dolphins go to the tight end. That is more than any team in the league. So I'm looking at this possibly being another Schultz game for the Texans. I think he may get some opportunities. Every team playing against the Dolphins seems like the way the Dolphins scheme, they leave the tight end open. He's just getting easy looks. That's going to be one of the guys I target, Eric, and some props and some DFS in this game. How about you? Anything about either side in particular or anyone in here you're looking at?
I gave this one out on my show earlier in the week. I actually went with the Texans. I put it in at 3 on Tuesday for my show. The way I kind of look at it is I just think it is just a great matchup for the Texans. I don't trust the Dolphins. When you look at the splits for Tua on the road, and He just struggles. Nico Collins is the best player PFF against the zone. Dolphins are a heavy zone coverage team. I think this is going to be a big CJ Stroud game. Also, if you're able to get Nico Collins going, that means you're able to get Joe Mixon going. I think this Texans offense, I think it's a good bounce back to a team with a winning percentage of 500 or more. 46% against the number on the road dips down to 40 when the team has a 60% winning percentage or more. On the road, it's 36. Teams coming off an OT game, 44% against the number. I'm not a fan of this Dolphins defense. They got lit up. Jets. Aaron Rodgers threw for 339. First game he threw for over 300 since December 12th of 2001. PFF graded 31st coverage game, 32nd PFF tackling. DVOA has them as 20th against the pass and 24th against the run. They run zone 68% of the time. PFF graded 31st team playing zone. Nico Collins is the PFF graded best player against zone coverage. This is going to be a huge game for them. Look at this Texans defense. Second DVOA, pass defense third, rush defense first. I think the Dolphins are going to struggle moving the ball. I think they're a little bit inflated when we kind of look at everything. This is kind of a bluff winning streak that they've been on 3 out of the last 4. So I'll take the Texans here minus the 2.
Some of the inactives for today from Scheffner: Pollard and Breece Hall active. Inactive: David Njoku, Tyler Conklin, Keaton Mitchell, KJ Osborne, Zane Gonzalez. We'll keep passing on any others to you. Eric, we move next to the Jets, who you were just talking about. A couple questions came in. Eric, did the college football Dr. Pepper marketing get to Eric?
I'll tell you what, I do drink Diet Dr. Pepper now. I absolutely.
There we go. I was going to say, it's sprinkled on in. Yeah, this is on me. I had one of those weeks. I was in a doctor, sick for about 6 weeks. That's what happens when you have a 5-year-old kid around this time of the year with the holidays. We just do not stop getting sick over and over and over and over. Shout out to Eric, who helped me out, started a little bit late today. And Eric, sounds like you had a really nice college basketball day yesterday.
Pretty good. 3-0-1 Texas State.
We'll take that any day of the week.
Shout out to the kid on FAU for the pointless layup with 4 seconds left, so I can push my
just to help you. Beautiful, right? We get so many of those the other way. It's great when they come back our way. I had
no. I had Texas State plus 9. They were down 7, and there was Texas State missed.
Okay.
The ball went out. The kid had a fast break. He could have just pulled up, but he did a dunk to make it 9, so I pushed it.
Okay. I had a pretty brutal one. I just missed I had a 38-1 shot in my pick 4 at Turfway last night in the second race. And then in the third leg, I had the 1, 6, and 7 in my pick 4. They ran second, third, and fourth. All 3 of them looked like they were going to win the race. That was the one that I missed. And then I came back and hit the last one, and it ended up paying over $3,000. I would have had it twice. So probably sitting on like $5,000 or $6,000, missed by a nostril running second, third, and fourth. Just a brutal beat there. But we all have those. I had one of the rougher ones. Eric had a little bit better one today. We'll see where they come back. If you're the Jets, you've had a pretty rough season so far, Eric. The Jets are on the road as a 3.5-point favorite, though, against the Jags. The Jets are 3-12 ATS in their last 15 as favorites. 1-6 ATS in their last 7. I don't like Mac Jones and what we've seen from him lately. I don't like this Jags team. But, man, I really don't know if the Jets should be favored by more than a field goal on the road against anybody this year.
Yeah, this is a weird thing. You really don't know what to do here. We have Mac Jones and a lame duck coaching staff. Jets, everyone's little darling to start the season, to go to make it the playoffs, laying 3.
Real quick, can I interrupt you?
Where you're looking.
Eric, you know who's darling? I want to interrupt you real quick because you know who's darling they weren't before the season? Yours and mine.
Yeah,
they were one of my underplays, and I know where you and I start, and I think as a gambler where you have to start when there's a team like the Jets that are getting a lot of buzz. Our job is to go look at them and go, why aren't they going to be that good? Yeah. If everyone else is saying they are, let's look into them a little bit more because we could really find value just going the other way. Their over-under was 9.5 this year. They haven't even had a winning season in 10 years.
Yeah, it's just people just kind of jumped on it a little too
Yep.
A little too much for me, but I'm sorry, I lost my
Yeah, no,
train.
because I blasted and interrupted you. We were going about the Jets.
Oh, teams coming off an overtime game, like I said, 44% against the number. Last 20 years, when teams with a 25% winning percentage or less are playing each other, the dog is 59% against the number.
Yeah.
When it's 3.5 or more, it's 61%. However, when it's a home dog, drops down a little bit to 50%. 55, excuse me. Jags are 32nd DVOA defending the pass, and PFF has them as a 24th coverage team. They run man coverage at the third highest rate in the league and are 31st in completion rate allowed against man. And PFF has Wilson as a 16th best wide receiver against man coverage. I think he's going to have a great day. Use him in your DFS lineups. In terms of anything else, I want nothing to do with it. If this gets up to 4, principal play is you have to take the Jags, but I'm not doing anything.
That's the thing. It's like, I can't play the Jets. No way. It's just, can we get to the Jags in this situation coming off that win last week that they had, which was kind of an ugly game. Speaking of the team they beat, Titans right here are hosting the Bengals. So you have a former coach situation with the Titans. Bengals are a 6-point favorite on the road now. This was 5 just yesterday, up to 6 off a short week for a team that has a horrendous defense. Like, I mean, the Titans, again, you and I are not lining up to bet Will Levis and the Titans right now, but on just pure principle and spot, laying 6 with the Bengals on the road with as bad as their defense is, they were tied. Dallas had the ball, blocked the punt, and Dallas had the ball. All they had to do was move down, probably get 15 or 20 yards and kick a field goal to win. And then they turn the ball over. They let Chase get that crazy long play for a touchdown. It was like unbelievable. Dallas actually played pretty well in that game. Man, I'm not sure what to do here with the Bengals and the Titans. Like, this can't be a laying it 6 with the Bengals, but same sort of thing. Like, I know you had not wanted to get to the Titans.
So I did 3 things in this game. First bet is I did Calvin Ridley over the 62.5 yards. Bengals are 25th worst coverage team per PFF. Bengals split between man and zone coverage, ranking the bottom 10 in both. Last 3 wide receivers they have faced. Chase 14 for 144, Pickens 3 for 74, Lad McConkey 6 for 123. That's 114 yards per game. Bengals cannot stop a nosebleed. I am going to take advantage of it. So I'm going to take Calvin Ridley. I'm going to take his over 62.5. Next, I took the Titans. I got it at 6. Speaking, how can we just trust this team to win with margin? PFF, total defense 22nd, rush defense 22nd. Sorry, total defense 27th, rush defense 22nd, coverage 25th, pass rush 27th. How are they just going to get stops? Are the Titans... They're going to be able to move the ball. I'm worried about Brownie in the back for them. He's going to be matched up against T. Higgins, who I'm going to get to a little bit later. Burrow has a lot of distractions going on with his home being robbed. That's all these rumors about him and his girlfriend or whatever. So what does that play? This defense, there was a mic'd up piece during the Cowboys game where he's like, we just need to get 1 stop. And there's that block punt. They should not have covered that game. They're on a short week after playing on the road on Monday night, back-to-back road games. Look, I know it's Will Levis, and I hate it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the Titans here plus the 6. I also did T. Higgins over 66.5 receiving yards. We all know the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I think that is what will happen here. Higgins coming off a game against the Cowboys where he played 62 snaps, ran 41 routes, only saw 5 targets, finishing with 2 receptions for 23 yards, facing a Titans secondary where he's going to be matched up against Jarvis Brownie, who is PFF DB 93. I expect a nice bounce back here from Higgins. I expect the Titans to have a good effort, make this close. You know, it's their former OC. He's going to know what Burrow wants to do. He's going to give the defense some stuff. Defensive line is pretty good. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a sneaky, high-scoring game. So, but I'm on the 2 overs. The Higgins over 66.5, Ridley over 62.5, and the Titans here plus the 6.
What a weird stat, because the Bengals have been so disappointing this year, but they're 4-0 against the spread as road favorites. which is just
Yeah,
weird. Like
absolutely.
you're looking at the teams that they've played. Yeah, they beat Carolina, they beat the Giants, they beat the Browns, and they beat the Cowboys last week. So
Yep.
those are the 4 games that they've won as road favorites against bad teams. This is not a Bengals spot, though, with the bigger number 2. I just could not get there with them this week. Had to be on the Titans side with you. How about this next one? We're up to the Ravens, 17-point favorite at the Giants, Tommy DeVito. It's a 17-point spread when the total is only 43.5. I'm not a Tommy DeVito fan, not even really a fan of Cutlets. The Giants have been really disappointing. Daboll's struggled. I was so impressed with him as a head coach a couple years ago. And for, there have been a lot of other factors since. It's funny. Everybody wanted to crap on Daniel Jones. He's way better than both of the quarterbacks they've had starting since him. Like he's, and like Locke, maybe it's a little bit more unfair for Locke because he doesn't really get the opportunities and stuff, but he's better than DeVito. So when you crapped all over Jones, it was a funny thing because you cut him. It's more of a money and a contract thing than really who's your best, most competent quarterback you could put out there this year to do some things for you. Now, all that being said, the last 8 road favorites in the NFL of 14 plus points, Eric, are 1-7. ATS, 3 straight up losses out of those. Yeah. So, I mean, at some point, does this number just get too big where you have to say, I'm going to play the Giants as a home 17-point dog?
I mean, principal play, you got to do it. I took them plus the 17. That was my buy-in point. I didn't think it was going to get there. It got there. Teams laying 14 or more points the last 20 years are 48% against the number. When they're on the road, laying this much, it dips down to 41. Jackson laying 3.5 as a favorite is 41% ATS. Those are the only trends I could find, but it's just a principal play. I have no in the trench data that I can back. I am just going to say the Ravens back. 4 is bad. They've struggled when they're big favorites. Earlier in the season, they lost to the Raiders when they were everyone's survivor pick.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the Giants are going to make this close. And as much as everyone says these guys don't know what the point spread is, these guys know what the point spread is. And they're going to be motivated. They're going to look for get a little street cred. They're going to come out there. They're going to compete. And the thing is with these kids playing, I say kids like an old man, these guys playing for the Giants, they're trying to put film on for next year. We got to remember that. So I expect this to be a focused effort. I think the Ravens will win, but I think they're not going to be able to win by this much, by 17.
One of the games I gave out this week was the Browns plus the 4.5 at home. You have the Chiefs, who are a 4.5 point favorite on the road. And Mahomes has been sacked 13 times in the last 3 games. He's already been sacked more times this year than in any season ever before. Couple ways I'm looking at this game. One, I think that there could be some possibilities for Myles Garrett. Turnovers, like them putting pressure on Mahomes. That's one. 2, I think Pacheco now back. 3rd game back, cold weather, wind, rain. He had 8 touches, then 14 carries and 16 touches last week. I could see the Chiefs trying to lean a little bit more on Pacheco here. Healthy, his 3rd game back. I don't think this is going to be an easy game for the Chiefs. In fact, the Chiefs' last 4 victories have come by between 2 and 3 points. They have not been a covering team all year long, especially in games like this.
They haven't covered one number all year.
Yeah. So for me, I think I just got to go right back here with the home dog getting more than a field goal, in particular when I like the matchup. I like that the fact that this defensive front of Cleveland can put some pressure on the offensive line of Kansas City that's been struggling. I do think if Kansas City plays well, it'll be a Pacheco game. I'm going to use him in DFS and some prop stuff, but I did go to the Browns, Eric, plus the 4.5. Talk to us about this one.
I got this one earlier in the week. I got it at 5.5. I'd still play it anything over 4. Mahomes. Well, first of all, they just clinched the playoff spot. They just clinched the division. Bills own the tiebreaker. This is kind of a letdown spot for the Chiefs after clinching the division against the Chargers last week. Mahomes, 48% ATS is a road favorite. 3.5 or more drops down to 41.2%. A lot was made of Humphreys coming back for the Chiefs last week against the Chargers. He was awful. PFF graded 52.3. Now he's hurt, missing practice, not really sure his status upgrade. Taylor, PFF 61.6, graded as tackle 60 on the season. Why is this important? You mentioned Myles Garrett. Obviously, the best defensive player is going to be lined up across from either one of those. Collinsworth kept mentioning Taylor was moving too soon. We saw this happen when they played the Lions. That game after they played that standalone game, and Collinsworth kept on mentioning how much Taylor was moving. There was a lot of false start penalties against him the following game. Is that what's going to happen here after on a standalone game? That's all that was mentioned by Collinsworth. I know this defense in Kansas City is better, but when you look at the right side, the back four, it's lacking. They're middle of the road in pass coverage. No Tillman. So what does that mean? It's not Jerry Jeudy. It's Elijah Moore. I expect a heavy Elijah Moore game. I have him in my DFS lineups. Browns, let's face it, insanely unlucky. We look a couple weeks ago, they should have won that game against the Broncos. Not one, but 2 pick six, a 97-yard touchdown by Bo Nix on 3rd and long. Just a lot of fluky stuff going their way. Should have got the cover last week, but there is fluky stuff. They finally cut Hopkins. They have a new field goal kicker. Winston, 64% against the number, getting 3.5 or more. Defense is still good. I think they're going to be able to get stops. And, anything over 4 I like. I got at 5.5.
Eric, let's keep rolling along. We go next to the Carolina Panthers, who are favored for the first time in 34 games since 2022. And they're up to a 2.5-point favorite in this game. One thing I'm going to try to lean on, these two teams are terrible defending the run. They're two of the worst teams in the league. So both teams should be able to run on each other. In particular, kind of sneaky, Rico Dowdle, last 2 games, back-to-back 100-yard games for the first time in his career. Just someone they're starting to get more use out of. They've kind of figured out how to get the best out of him running-wise efficiently. So I would be fine using him. If you want to use some of the Panthers backs as well, maybe even Bryce Young, I'd be fine with that in this situation because you have the Cowboys coming back on the short week. Can you play the Panthers as a favorite in this spot, or do you go to the Cowboys just in principle because the Panthers haven't been favored in so long?
I wanted to get to 3. It really hasn't got to 3 on any of my books, so I'm just kind of sitting this one out. But I did bet Jake Ferguson to score a touchdown at plus 300. Panthers struggle defending a tight end. They have been one of the worst teams this season. They're allowing a league high 10 touchdowns to the tight end position, 31st DVOA defending the tight end. Last week, they gave up a touchdown to Grant Callinetri of the Eagles. 2 of the last 3 games, they have surrendered touchdown to opposing tight ends. Ferguson's role in the Cowboys offense. Look, first game coming back from injury last week, 29% target share, 30% target share when rush has started. I'm getting plus 300 and a key, the second best wide receiver on the Cowboys against the team that's awful defending the tight ends. This just makes all the sense in the world for me. I got it at plus 300 over on DraftKings.
We move next to the Steelers at the Eagles. Big game here for two teams who are hoping to make Super Bowl runs, but the Eagles are a 5.5-point favorite in this one. A couple things I'm just thinking about overall in this game, Eric. I was looking into some of the numbers, and I couldn't kind of find where I had been reading them. But Nick Sirianni is one of the best squeaky wheel coaches. You and I talk a lot about the squeaky wheel when you have one of your players that is complaining about not getting touches, or when you have, in particular, a lot of time it's the wide receiver. Sometimes it'll be the running back saying they're not getting the ball enough. And all week long we heard A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, there's something off with them. We're not sure about them. One of the guys on the team mentioned something on a podcast. Then he had to take it back and apologize and say he didn't know. Then AJ and Jalen had to come out and say, no, they're fine. But, it's funny. AJ Brown was asked a question in the press conference after the game, what he thought they needed to work on offensively. And what he said is true. He talked about the passing game, but everybody wants to kind of dissect that. And I would do the same thing as a reporter. You'd go, oh, the passing game. Does that mean you have a problem with Jalen Hurts? I think he just meant that, the Eagles are last in passing attempts. They're 31st this year in passing yards. Some of that is because they've been so good at running the ball. They're just leaning on the run with Barkley a little bit more. I could see this being one of those games where it's A.J. Brown 3 times on the opening drive. Just to kind of like Sirianni did it with Dotson earlier in the year. He's one of those coaches who likes doing that. So I'm going to play some A.J. Brown stuff. I know his props are even boosted up high, but I could see this being a big A.J. Brown game. And then flip side, you got the Steelers. Eric, this is when we play Tomlin, right? As a dog like this in a big game. I think they've won their last 7 straight games as underdogs. Is that right?
Yeah. It's just the Tomlin spot. This is just what we need to be able to do here. Where are my notes on this bad boy?
So yeah, we got the where I'm looking at.
Here we go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
62, 31, and 2 ATS as a dog, 67%. Getting 3.5, between 3.5 and 7, 24 and 11, 69%. Road dog, 63%. Look, I know you said your stuff about it, but there's something going on. We've seen AJ Brown
absolutely
upset. What people don't know is Jalen Hurts is AJ Brown's son's godfather. So there's obviously a connection there. And for that to get so heated, there's got to be something personal going on. And now if they force the ball to Brown, what's that going to do? They're one of the heaviest run teams in the league. Is him getting upset going to take away from the offensive leadership?
It might.
Yeah.
I'm going to play it like it does. I'm hoping that just what you said, that they take a little too much to focus on getting Brown the ball, which could be fine for Brown props, but that doesn't help them as a team. They're just so smooth when they're running the ball right at you repeatedly. And then they have the weapons to go and make a play when they have to, but they don't need to be peppering A.J. Brown with 15 targets. I could see that being different today, and I don't think that helps their win chances.
Steelers, when we look at this, they're the best run team that the Eagles have faced since they faced the Browns. The Browns held Barkley to only 47 yards. Steelers had the special teams and the kicking advantage. When we look at the Eagles schedule, they do have the Commanders on deck. It's a chance to lock up the 1 seed out in the East. I also don't think people realize how good the Steelers offense has been. They're averaging 29 points per game since Russell Williams took over. Eagles.
I think you went William and then Williams on Wilson on that one.
Oh, Williams, sorry. Eagles defense, 118 on the ground. The Panthers just ran for 114. I think the Steelers are going to be able to move the ball. I took the Steelers plus 5.5. I know it's a Tomlin spot. I know it's the quote unquote public dog of the week. But this is just kind of one of those principled plays. You're not going to win all of them, but you do this over time.
You're going to win
long term.
60%
you're going to be
of
a
them.
winner. So
yeah, I completely agree with you. And just again, think about it like this: could this game be Eagles by 10, and you just get a garbage touchdown late? Absolutely. Like with the way that Pittsburgh's offense is, where they were able to move the ball. Philly could be dominating this game the entire way through. And as long as you're within 10 late in the game, you're still ripe for the back door. So I think this is the spot to get on the Steelers on the dog side. Huge game for you today, Eric. The Lions and the Bills. Lions hosting the Bills, just a 2-point favorite. This game tipped up a little bit. It was only 1 earlier in the week. So you have the Lions. Now, they were missing 10 defensive linemen. Last week. They had 6 different players with 5 catches. This team is just so fun to watch. They're well built. They like each other. They're a good football team. What's concerning to me is watching the Bills, seeing them give up 44 points, seeing them allow 11 of 13 on 5th down for the Rams. That was nervous because there's a lot of things that the Rams and the Lions do similar. When you look at the offensive statistics and the way that the Rams and the Lions can run the ball right at you, and then how that can help them with the play action. And they have receivers who block. Mina Kimes, who is one of my favorite people to watch on like one of the mainstream shows. She does a fantastic job. She's just really insightful. And she had this a breakdown of how if you looked at the Rams offense and the Lions offense, they do a lot of things similar, or their rosters are kind of built similarly. So it would not be a surprise to see the Lions have really good success against the Bills defense that couldn't stop the Rams last week. I know they're going to try to make some adjustments. I just, that's one of those things that I had a hard time looking at, wondering how is this team that just got kind of dominated by the Rams going to be able to stop this Lions team? You know, the matchup wise, I'm a little bit nervous there, but the Bills have scored, Eric, 30 points in 7 straight games. That's the longest in franchise history for the Bills and one of the longest in NFL history. So really best teams in the league right here.
To me, it just kind of looks like the whoever has the ball last is going to win this game. Allen is a dog, 18-11, 62% ATS. Lions injuries, are they finally going to add up?
At some point, you feel like they'll get there, right?
Line are hurt. 2 of their best run stoppers are hurt. Branch was banged up at the end of the game. But on the flip side, the one thing that Lions are going to be able to do come the playoffs that I don't think people realize is they're just going to have these 7-8 minute drives that eat up half, 10 minutes of a quarter, just keeping the opposing quarterback on the sideline. Is Campbell and Johnson just going to say, hey, you know what? We're so banged up. That's our best way to win. We're just going to turn around, hand it to Gibbs, hand it to Montgomery. This is a spot to fade the Bills. They just played that snow game. Then they had to travel cross country, have that game against the Rams where there's 1 million points scored. Now you're traveling to Detroit. Flip side for the Lions, since they're already a game up, is this really that big of a game for them? You know what I mean? Like they can still lose this game and not really lose any traction.
AFC game versus an NFC game. Yeah.
They lose this game and the Eagles win. They're still a game up. I really want nothing to do with this game. I was looking at some Amari Cooper stuff because he did finally look to connect with Josh Allen. But the key is the Lions back 4 is so brutal, except for Brian Branch. Who is he going to cover? And that's always the mystery. Who is Glenn going to have him shadow? Because that's the guy you want to fade, and the other guy is that's who you want to attack. So maybe watch the game. You see that Branch is following Cooper, look to take some Shakir props. You see he's following Shakir, look to take some Cooper props. That's kind of how I would do it, but I have nothing pregame. I'll just kind of sit back and watch.
This game is a big one because the Colts still have a shot to make the playoffs, but they need some teams in front of them to lose. They need a little bit of help. One of those teams is this Broncos team. So the Colts can help themselves today getting a win over the Denver Broncos. Colts are a 5-point dog coming off the bye. They've had really good success recently coming off buys as well. The Broncos lead the league with 47 sacks, but they're going to be playing a quarterback here who's kind of tough to bring down. When especially when he's kind of running right at you when he gets out of the pocket. And the Colts have the second easiest schedule in the league remaining. Yep. So you win this game, you could be in really nice shape. What do you think? Do the Colts have a shot here? Is this too much for the Broncos to be laying against a team that they're probably kind of evenly matched with, or maybe not too far ahead of?
I gave this one out on my podcast on Friday. I took the Colts here +4. I know the Broncos are the it team right now. But we need to remember how much their defense struggled against the mobile quarterback early in the year when they played Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying Jackson and Richardson are the same person, but it was a mobile quarterback they did struggle against.
The template, yeah.
Nick's perfect as a favorite, due for a little bit of a regression. ATS. Historically speaking, the Joseph defense has struggled against zone reads and RPOs. I think they're going to struggle here. Kelly coming back for the Colts is immediately going to help this offensive line. Broncos run man coverage at the 5th highest rate in the league, 30th in success rate when using it. Allow the highest completion percentage and the highest first down rate. We saw how bad the secondary was against the Browns. I could see the Colts taking advantage using Josh Downs on some go routes with Pittman working the underneath of the field. Now I know they're coming off a bye, but What would this number be if they lost against the Browns? Would this be a 3? Are we getting
Absolutely.
a little bit?
3.5
Yeah,
max.
because when you look at the box score, the Browns should have won that game. I know this Broncos offensive line has been playing good, but their weakness is the interior. Buckner and Stewart are there. I think they're going to have the advantage inside. Broncos can bring pressure, but the Colts offensive line is healthy, and Kelly's back is just going to make this line bigger. Colts run zone coverage at the highest rate in the league. And just looking at the numbers, Sutton does his best against man coverage where he's able to go and high point a ball against zone. He's not really a Tyreek Hill or Jaden Waddle that can just sit in a hole and have the ball thrown to him. One-on-one, throw it up, have him go get it. Scheichen, one of the better coaches in the league, ATS 57%, 60% ATS is a favorite. This is a spot I like Richardson as a quarterback. He can extend with his arm, extend with his legs. Must win for both teams when this happens. I just like taking the team with points. I think the Colts have the advantage in the trenches. I like Richardson long term more than Nix, so I'm gonna do it.
There's more upside because he's younger and he's got less starts, right? Like Nix is more of the finished product right now. And that's sort of what you knew when you drafted him because he's an older quarterback with all that experience. Richardson, you still see the moments where you're like, wow, and then the next moment you pull your hair out. But the guy doesn't have nearly as many reps under him. And I completely agree with you. I love playing a guy like that as a dog. Same sort of thing. Could the Colts be down 10 and you just need Richardson to get you a backdoor garbage late time, score? Absolutely. Eric, any round robins that you're looking at today?
Yeah, I have a touchdown round robin where I'll give out after I find it.
Awesome. Okay, so stay tuned, Sports Facts, for Eric's touchdown round robin in just a little bit. Chargers hosting the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Bucks now are in first place in the division after 3 straight wins. Chargers come off of a stretch of kind of bizarre games where could have lost or won all of them. Game against the Bengals where it's like back and forth. They're up big and the Bengals come all the way back. Then against the Ravens, they get beat up a little bit. Then they play the Chiefs where the Chiefs are up big early. They come all the way back, but you get some of the Kansas City magic late in the game as always. Now the Chargers are back home hosting a Bucks team as a 3-point favorite here. I couldn't get a real feel for this game.
Ridley, Ferguson, Evans, McBride, and A.J. Brown all to score a touchdown. Did that straight and then by twos. In terms of this game right here, I'm just going back to the well. Mike Evans over 63.5 yards receiving since coming back from the injury. He's averaging 7.7 targets, 5.7 receptions, 85.3 yards per game. Gone over in each of the each total in the game he's been back. Cardinals run zone at the 5th highest rate in the league. Evans leads the Bucks in target share against zone coverage. And my boy Vidal over the 26.5 yards rushing. My big prediction at the beginning of the season was he was going to leave a team to the title. I absolutely love this matchup for him. Harbaugh said that he needs to improve his pass blocking to play, and last week was the first week that he out-snapped Edwards. He played 53% of the snaps. He had 1 carry in the first half. Second half is where he did all the work, finished with 8 carries for 34 yards. I think we're going to see him take over and be the lead back for him because he's just way more versatile than Gus Edwards. Bucks are the 2015 per PFF against the rush, 10th worst tackling team. Chargers have the 10th best offensive line to defensive line matchup per PFF. So I just did those 2 player props.
Okay. Any other? If you have any other comments or any other plays or anything else that you want to share us, feel free to get them on in. We just have a few games more to discuss today. Patriots at the Cardinals. So Kyler Murray in Arizona hosting New England, trying to get themselves back into good form after the 3 bad losses in a row when they had the opportunity to take a stranglehold of the division. Now as a 6-point favorite in here, feeling like that's just a lot of points for this team that you haven't been able to trust. Patriots, much more competent team with Drake May also as the 6-point dog in here. What about this game, Eric? Any strong opinion one way or the other? So like Arizona only averaging 15.3 points per game after a 4-game winning streak. The one player that I'm going to target in this game for New England, Hunter Henry, 8 or more targets in 3 straight games. I think for a young quarterback like that, you get the big target. Hunter Henry is probably their best pass catcher as well, and like their best weapon. Doesn't surprise me at all to see that. He's someone that I have in some DFS leagues today. Give us some thoughts on this one. Arizona hosting the Patriots.
I just went back to it. Give me Trey McBride anytime touchdown plus 175. He has the 6th most red zone targets this season in the whole NFL, and he has no touchdown. He has the 4th most targets inside the 10 and doesn't have a touchdown.
He's due.
Pats have given up the 5th most TDs to the tight end. I think this is just a game where we see McBride get it in. And they don't have any. This is a must-win game from the Cards. I expect this to be a heavy game of we need to get the ball to McBride, Connor, and Harrison. Those are the 3 guys we need to get the ball to, and everyone else get the hell out of the way.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked either to see Little Murray action. Like you see a little more with his legs in a game like this when it's like, hey, playoff type of game, right? If I get a few hits here and there, what am I holding on for? What am I waiting for? Yeah. I don't have the 15 games of the season left for the bumps and bruises to worry about them as much. So 3 games left, Sunday Night Football, and then we have 2 Monday night games for this week. Packers at the Seahawks. This is an important game in the NFC because when you sort of think about the way the NFC is situated right now, you've got the Lions and the Eagles who kind of feel like they're a little bit above everybody else. Then below them, you've got the next tier of teams, which is like the Vikings, the Packers, and the Seahawks right there. So these are teams that are hoping to get into the playoffs, upset one of the maybe the better teams in the NFC, and they're playing on Sunday Night Football with the Seahawks as actually a 2.5-point home dog here against the Green Bay Packers. Talk to us about this one.
I love games like this on Sunday night because I have no bets in it because I had absolutely nothing.
Go to sleep early.
And I can go to sleep early.
Boom.
To me, I think this could be a heavy Jacobs game. Full transparency, I am in the playoffs in a couple leagues. Like your league, I'm actually in the playoffs in.
You snuck in last week. Yep.
Snuck in last week. And I'll be honest, like my problem with that team, and I don't mean to sound cocky, I have too many good players, and it's always a week thing. Like,
and you pick the wrong guy. You have like 9 guys, and your bench is better than other teams' lineups. I know exactly what you mean.
I am benching DK Metcalf this week for Cortland Sutton.
Okay.
So
in the matchup,
So nothing I want to do with this game. I'm just going to sit this one out.
Sunday Night Football. I'm leaning Seahawks as just the home dog in this game, but Seattle's been playing so well lately. There's probably a bump in the road coming for them at some point soon. Monday Night Football doubleheader. Vikings hosting the Chicago Bears. They are a 7-point favorite though in this game, and that's a team that has not been covering with margin a whole lot. They do clinch the playoffs with the win or a tie in this game. The Bears have been 0-6 straight up on the road this year. They've just been so bad. They did not get that fired coach bump like everyone expected, but they were just the public darling dog last week where their number went. You guys lost all value in that game. Maybe you put a line right through it and play them back because they were so bad. Nobody wants to play the Bears here. How bad they've been on the road. Like, is this a buy-in spot for you on the Bears?
No. If this gets up to 7.5, maybe I'll look to get involved in it. Which quarterback do you trust? Addison, maybe look at his props just because Johnson's going to be on Jefferson. Bears have been awful against the run. Maybe look at some Jones props. There's a trend, teams that win by 17 playing a team that loses by 17. The last 20 years, a team that lost by 17 or more, 59% against the number. Bears haven't won a game on the road since 2021 in Seattle, and that's when Nick Foles was the quarterback. I don't trust Darnold winning with margin, but with how bad Caleb Williams has been on the road, how can you trust the Bears
this
here?
Matchup, right? Like them coming after that Bears offensive line that struggled. Like, yeah, I agree with you. And I'm kind of quietly, like, I'd still agree in that. Like, I'm not betting Sam to cover with margin. I believe way more overall in this Vikings team as a team that could beat the Eagles or win a game in the playoffs they're not supposed to than I did just a little while ago, just 5 or 6 weeks ago. It felt like Sam was kind of like the clock was running out on his good stretch. And then he went the other way, Eric. And I think the difference between Darnold and some of these other, like, not as good quarterbacks that have their runs where you're like, I know they're not that good. They're just on a good run right now. The thing about Sam, he's always had the talent, like the ceiling, and he has the big arm, and he can move the ball. Like, he can get out of the pocket. So he's not a statue, and he can throw the ball down the field. He just needs to be coached. Like, he's going to make mistakes in your game. But when you have this roster with those two wide receivers, the running game, the coaching staff, and the defensive front, Sam's not a bad guy to have, because he can. It's sort of like what we're saying with Russell Wilson and the Steelers, how they're built. Like, a lot of the things around them are important, but you want a guy who can at least take a shot down the field and can move a little bit. And that is what Wilson can do. That is what Darnold can do. And so, you know what? Maybe next year Sam Darnold won't be this good of a quarterback again. But if you're the Vikings right now, don't you have to think about bringing him back instead of going all in on McCarthy? I mean, I
think that's the reason. Like, I'll be honest, he's gone in my eyes.
I know, because he's going to get more money.
Why else?
Someone's going to pay him way more because now they saw him.
He's going to get 10 to 15 mil.
Yeah.
And that's what they're not going to play. That's why they brought in Daniel Jones to be the bridge gap quarterback until McCarthy's ready to go.
Yeah, because it's so rare when you do what they did this year and it works out. It almost never works when you go get the bridge guy to help for the rookie. You usually get a guy who's not ready or who's not there. Mm-hmm. Sam has given them everything they could have hoped for and more times a million. I know, like, the Vikings fans out there, they like Sam Darnold now. Why wouldn't you? He hasn't done a whole lot wrong for them. And now they're already in this, like, dang, we're going to have this guy who maybe wins 13 or 14 games and he's just going to be released. And we're probably going to be all in on a rookie that we've never even seen start a game.
Well, I mean, like they're tied to him. I mean, I know.
Yeah, no, they have no choice. Yeah, they have no choice. They have no choice.
Two surgeries, but they're tied to him. This is
and you can't go.
They have now.
You can't go spend a bunch of money on another quarterback when you've already used assets for your future quarterback. They're going to be in between a rock and a hard place. I wanted to give him a little bit of credit, though, because he's done a great job so far this year. But as far as this game, yeah, man, if this gets to 7.5, I'm on the Bears. 7, I'm just nothing. Like, anything lower, don't want anything to do with it.
Yep.
Eric, let's get our final game. Falcons at the Raiders. So the Raiders are a 5.5-point home dog here. Falcons trying to get back into the division lead after looking so bad recently. I had really no clue because the spot, the principle, everything says to play the Raiders as the home dog in here, but the Falcons need this game so much.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely lean toward the Raiders here. Crosby out with the ankle injury, so he is not going to be playing. But again, they haven't announced the starter. We have no idea. Is this Ritter in the revenge game? Is this Aiden O'Connell, who I trust a little bit more? They've been so bad at coverage. I'll definitely look at some trade Kurt Turner props if O'Connell is the quarterback, but we have no idea what's going on at the quarterback position. So it's really hard for me to do anything here.
Yep.
The Falcons, I was down on them this year. And, they got extremely lucky. They're in a good position. They could still make the playoffs. I'm just going to kind of sitting this one out, maybe look to get some props if this does get a little bit higher. Because I do think if Ritter plays, this number will move actually a little bit more.
Yeah. We'll wait for that one. It's the second of the 2 Monday Night Football games. Eric, let's quickly get into our Boom fantasy plays for today. Let's start with you. You're going big. You've got a bunch on the radar for Boom. And remind the folks how they can sign up for Boom Fantasy and what's your promo code to give them a little bit extra.
Promo code is ETOFT21. You just go to the App Store, download it, enter that. On our thumbnail for YouTube, there's a little QR code in the front. If you just put your phone up to that, it will take you right to our link. For this game, look, pretty cut and dry for me. I love Ferguson and McBride to get into the zone. I love the Evans and Higgins and the Ridley over. I just put all those together. This plays pretty well. So, I mean, if you put $20 on it, you're going to make $1,000. So that's the way I went.
Sure. Absolutely. That's a big one for Eric. I just took a couple here. Pacheco, I went the attempts. I think the way that this game is going to be played, I could see him just getting a lot of carries here. So I went over 14.5 attempts. I went for A.J. Brown over the yards. Squeaky wheel there. Eric, man, can't believe we're already into NFL Week 15. Do we have anything else you need to mention before we get out of here?
No. Good luck in your bets, and hopefully we can make some money for you guys.
Any carryovers today or good horse races? She was just reading a few moments ago. There was almost going to be a boycott at Aqueduct, but they did start to run today. So you can check out
boycott
the valets were boycotting out there. So some of the the folks who bring the horses around and who kind of like help care for the horses. So there must have been, I think it was probably like a valet payment issue. Sometimes like when they want to get more money than they're getting, or there's something like that happening, they'll all kind of band together and do the boycott so that they ended up running. So it didn't end up happening. But I was like, wow, I was paying attention as we just started because I saw the DRF reporter getting into that. Gulfstream has some good racing today, but really what I'm going to be focusing on, I'm already looking ahead for this week coming up because Gulfstream and Fairgrounds have a couple of really nice races, really nice days on Saturday up ahead, and then Santa Anita opening day. So I'm not really playing too many races today myself. I'm already looking ahead for next week, and I do this myself personally, Eric. When I've had a bad beat the day before, a lot of times I'll kind of take the next day off because I have a bad taste in my mouth. I'll sort of like go on. You start betting, you start losing, you maybe get a little tilty. I try to remove the possibility of tilt for myself as a gambler. Yeah. So I take that out of there. But Nick, this week coming up, we'll have a bunch of stuff for everyone out there. Eric, man, good luck to you in all your plays. Thanks so much for being flexible with me. This year has been a tough one. We've been sick. I've been super busy, but you are a great co-host and a great partner in crime like always, my friend. Good luck to you with your plays.
Good luck to you too, my friend.
Everyone out there, hope you have an awesome Sunday. We'll see you again next week for NFL Betting Blitz.